Welcome to the PJ Hoop Podcast. I'm your host, PJ, and if this is your very first time checking out my podcast, first and foremost, I want to thank you for taking the time out of to check out my podcast. This is a basketball podcast, so on my podcast, I predominantly talk about the NBA, but I also like to cover high school, college, and international basketball. As you can see, I got that Tatum jersey on today. No, I'm not a Celtics fan, but I'm a Duke Blue Devil fan. And in honor of Tatum returning, I thought I'd throw on the jersey to just show some love and support for Tatum. But anyways, I want to give you guys the parameters that I go over week in and week out. The first being a segment I like to call PJ's Echelon. Now, in PJ's Echelon, understanding it's my power rankings, understanding that it is a progressive list because I am a progressive man. I'm not a perfect man. And I'll give you guys the parameters for that here shortly because that'll be my very first segment. Another segment I go over is a segment I like to call What's New. Now, in What's New, essentially, I'm going to give you guys some type of NBA historical history that was made this last week, some type of NBA news that was made this last week, or it could just be me straight up ranting. Today, we're going to look at our second half of our NBA draft lottery. Last week, I did the top 7 teams, and I just kept them in their original order, the order that they're in currently. And I just kind of did what I felt like their draft, like what players kind of fit the team. So we're going to do the second half of the lottery today. We're going to do the 7 through 14. I'll tell you guys what players I think could fit those teams, okay? So we'll do that today. And then another segment I go over is a segment it's called Games of the Week. In Games of the Week, I'm talking about an NBA, high school, college, or national game that I really enjoyed watching or a game of some type of significance. The game today had some type of significance a little bit. So I'm going to talk about that game today. It was a game out of the ACC. We're going to talk about that. And then my last segment is a segment I like to call In the Lab. Now, In the Lab, I'm talking about today's NBA rookies, high school, college, or national basketball. Today, we're going to check in on that Rookie of the Year debate. We're going to talk about Cooper Flagg and Con Knipple and a couple others. So we're going to do that today. And I want you guys to understand, too, I like to keep my episodes between 25 to 35 minutes. So if there's a lot of things that I like and I want to say, but I'm just trying to be mindful of you guys' time and of my time. And then also, I want to let you guys know next week we will be doing a college basketball special episode just to kind of get us geared up and ready for March Madness, which is right around the corner. Conference tournament's about to start. I think tomorrow is when the conference tournaments start for like the major power conferences. Some of the smaller conferences have already started. But yeah, so next week we'll do a college basketball special episode. In that episode, I'll give you guys about 10 players that I'm going to be watching out and like scouting closely during the NCAA tournament. And then also I'll give you guys my bracket, okay? So that's going to be next week. So next week we'll take a pause from our original episode and we'll just isolate just on college basketball, okay? My first segment is a segment I like to call PJ's Echelon. Now, PJ's Echelon is just my power rankings. Understand that it is a progressive list because I am a progressive man. I'm not a perfect man. And the parameters that I like to use is the team's strength of schedule, eye test, statistically where the team sits, and then also the team's record, okay? Let's dive straight into it. This is being recorded Monday, March 9th at about 2 p.m. So anything that happens after 2 o'clock today will not be featured in this power ranking, okay? Let's dive straight into it. My number one team this week is the 50-15 Oklahoma City Thunder. OKC right now, they're 8th in offensive rating, 1st in defensive rating, and they're 1st in net rating. They have the 4th toughest remaining schedule. They're 24-11 against teams above 500. Shea recently returned. It looks like OKC is about to start rolling again. I noticed that their three-point shooting is kind of slouched a little bit. It's been kind of a roller coaster, but it's been like that all year long with this team, but they're fine. They're number one this week for me. Number two, this team is 47-17, and that is the San Antonio Spurs. San Antonio right now, they're 5th in offensive rating, 3rd in defensive rating, 3rd in net rating. They're 16-1 in their last 17 games, and it looks like potentially we're headed for a Spurs versus OKC conference finals. We'll see if anybody else in the West has something to say about that, but right now it looks like we're headed for that collision course. Number three, this team is 45-18, and that is the Detroit Pistons. Detroit right now, they're 11th in offensive rating, 2nd in defensive rating, 4th in net rating, and I know they're on a little 4-game losing streak right now. Honestly, I'm going to give them another week. I'm going to give them a pass because last week I felt like the Nets game they let slip away from them because I think they were looking forward to getting to Miami, so they overlooked the Nets. And then they lost to Miami, but Saturday night in Miami. I'm not holding that over their heads at all. We'll keep Detroit at number 3 this week, but I can easily argue for this number 4 team to be number 3. And my number 4 team, it is the Boston Celtics. Boston right now, they're 43-21, second in offensive rating, 5th in defensive rating, second in net rating. Like I told you guys, I feel like I can argue putting them at number 3 this week, but I'm going to give Detroit one more week. Also, Boston has a very interesting stretch to this week. They obviously beat the Cavs yesterday. They got the Spurs and the Thunder also this week, all on the road, and Tatum is back, so we'll see how they do this week. They might end up being number 3 by next week. Well, it wouldn't be next week because I'm doing my college episode, but the week after, okay? Boston is on the uprise, and it looks like they may be the team to beat. Out east now, like undoubtedly, but we'll see. We'll see how the rest of the season goes. Number 5, this team is 41-24, and it is the New York Knicks. New York right now, they're 3rd in offensive rating, 6th in defensive rating, 5th in net rating. They lost to OKC by 3 on a second night of a back-to-back, so I'm not holding that. Like, I'm okay with that happening. Last year at this time, they were 15-23 against teams above 500. This year, they're 23-18 against teams above 500. Last year, around this time, they were 13th. They finished last year 13th in defensive rating. Right now, I just told you guys they're 6th. So shout out to Mike Brown and that coaching staff for getting this team on looking like they're, obviously for sure have improved from last year. So just on the uprise, shout out to Mike Brown for defensively getting this team kind of more in sync. I know earlier this year it looked kind of shaky for a second there, but New York has turned around. So shout out to the Knicks, man. Number 6. This team is 39-25, and it is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cleveland right now, they're 6th in offensive rating, 13th in defensive rating, 7th in net rating. They only had 2 games last week, so part of me feels like that loss to Boston, don't get me wrong, it mattered, but I didn't really beat them up about it because I kept them at 6 this week. I just felt like they probably just got too comfortable being home. They were at home for 4 or 5 days last week. And so to me, it's okay, Boston's coming into town. You think you would get up for it, but I think they just may have gotten too comfortable being at home for so long. So I don't want to hold that over their head. So I'm going to keep them at number 6 this week. They got the second easiest remaining schedule left. They play Philadelphia tonight, I believe, which they're probably going to kill Philadelphia, to be truth be told. They're probably going to beat them. And then also later this week, they got the Heat and the Magic also. So we'll see how Cleveland does the rest of this week. Because like I said, that Boston loss didn't look good. So we'll see how they bounce back. And also, what I really want to see from them for the rest of the year, I just want to see them play some healthy basketball. They got about 17, 18 games left. Like I said, second easiest remaining schedule. I just want to see this team be whole going into the final stretch. Number 7, this team is 40-24, and it is the Minnesota Timberwolves. Minnesota right now, they're 10th in offensive rating, 9th in defensive rating, 8th in net rating. They got the 8th toughest remaining schedule. Still got OKC, Boston, Houston, Detroit twice, and Phoenix once. I think, honestly, they'll have an opportunity down the stretch to kind of just see how they stack up against the elite competition around the NBA. I still believe, and I said this to you guys back in, I think, November I said this, or December. I still think Chris Finch is on the clock. I know it's not being talked about, and I know you guys are probably like, what? What do you mean he's on the, they went to the conference finals 2 years in a row. In my opinion, I think change has to come when you get stagnant, right? They don't have any really wiggle room to trade anybody to upgrade their roster. The only other head to go is the coach. So, and Chris Finch has been there, Ant's career. So I think it's time. I think Chris Finch has been with Minnesota for, 5 years now? I think he's been there 5-6 years. And yeah, I think they peaked out in the conference final with him as their head coach. That's just my personal opinion. So I still think he's on the clock regardless of, unless they get to the finals this year, which if I was a betting man, I would say they're not going to. I think Chris Finch might be out of here this summer. Yeah. Number 8. This team is 39-24, and is the Houston Rockets. Houston right now, they're 7th in offensive rating, 8th in defense rating, 6th in net rating. So I was not pleased with their performance at all last week. You cannot let Pozinski, you cannot let him and DeAnthony Melton combine for 49 points in an overtime loss at home. You just can't. And you had 3 days off too. So that just, to me, that just was not acceptable at all. I think even if this team had Fred VanVleet and Steven Adams, I think this still is not a championship team. So I think the only way this team becomes a championship team really going into next year is they need Şengün, or they need Amen Thompson, or even Jabari Smith to really elevate themselves to being like top 15 players in the NBA. I think that's the only way this becomes a legit team. Otherwise, they're just going to stay in that middle of the pack type. So that's just my opinion about it. I just wanted to tell you guys that because it's been on my mind. Number 9, this team is 37-24, and it is the Denver Nuggets. Denver right now, they're first in offensive rating, 22nd in defensive rating, 9th in net rating. And I just feel for this team, injury after injury. They get Gordon back, Murray's out. I'm keeping them at 9. Like I just told you guys, I'm not too impressed with anything else that's happened thus far. I think this draft, luckily for them, they're going to have their draft pick this draft. So this draft is it's fairly deep. I think at pick, because they're probably going to pick between like 21 and 23 or something. I think in that range, I think they will be able to get a quality role player as long as they draft appropriately because Peyton Watson needs to get paid. So we'll see if they decide to pay him. Tim Hardaway and Bruce Brown, they're free agents as well. So I don't know if they're planning to try to get another big payday or if they're just comfortable with just taking what Denver can offer them. But I think at 22, Denver can get a rotational player to play now. It just depends which way they want to go with it. Some players that I think really could help them right away. I think Tunde Yesufu could. I think Cameron Carr would be a solid player coming off the bench for them, or even another shooter to replace Tim Hardaway like Isaiah Evans from Duke. I think that would be a good pick for them too. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'll be watching to see how Denver kind of goes about into free agency because it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting to see what they decide to do because, again, they're another team I think could catch themselves being somewhat stagnant if they don't move appropriately this summer. Number 10, this team is 37-27, and it's the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix right now, they're 19th in offensive rating, 10th in defensive rating, and they're 15th in net rating. I'm leaving them at 10 this week for one more week because I really want to see how the Magic, Lakers, Raptors, and even Phoenix handles himself. The Magic have been trending upwards, and I've been noticing it. But, again, I just want to give one more week before I make any sudden movements. My teams on the bubble, I have the Raptors, the Lakers, and Orlando. You guys let me know down in the comment section below who's in your top 10 and who do you have on your bubble. My next segment is a segment I like to call What's New. Now, What's New, I'm talking about some type of NBA news, some type of NBA historical history that was made this last week, or it could just be me straight up ranting. Today, we're going to just check in, going to kind of just revamp and do what we did last week a little bit. So what I've been doing is last week I started looking at the 14 teams that are in the lottery, and I just kept them at those spots. And I was just kind of just picking like draft fits for each team. Last week I did the top 7. We're going to do 7 through 14 today. But I just want to recap who I mocked the players to last week, just so if you missed last week's episode. So at number 1, I had Darren Peterson going to Sacramento. And like I said, I'm just going to give you guys the names. If you want to hear like more of my deep dive on why I had the player drafted to that team, you have to go back and check out last week's episode. But yeah, so I got Darren Peterson to Sacramento. I had Indiana taking Caleb Wilson. I had Brooklyn taking A.J. DeBontis. I had the Wizards taking Cam Boozer. I had Utah taking Keaton Wagler. I had Atlanta taking Kingston Flemings. I had Dallas taking Darius Aguff. Oh, actually, yeah, I had Dallas taking Darius Aguff. And that was the end of last week. So now today, at number 8, I have the Memphis Grizzlies selecting LeBaron Filan, 6'4", kind of point guard / shooting guard. He's a combo guard at Alabama. I really like Filan for them because I feel like, to me, Filan, Ja's probably out of there this summer because I was also sitting here contemplating too, like, okay, is Ja going to stay? What are they going to do with that? Okay, maybe I want to mock somebody else here. But I went with Filan. I was considering Mikal Brown, but I just feel like Filan kind of fits the core in the city of Memphis a lot better. Filan's going to give you that showstopper feel like Ja does. And also, I think Walter Clayton, I know you guys are probably like, what about Walter Clayton? I think Walter Clayton, in my opinion, is going to be best suited as a backup point guard, which no shame in that. I think him as a backup would be very solid. And I do, like I said, I told you guys, I think Ja's gone. I like Filan coming in with the core of Cedric Howard, Zach Edey, Taylor Hendricks, Jalen Wells, and then Clayton himself, and then also Gigi Jackson. I really like LeBaron Filan in Memphis at 8. Number 9, Chicago. I have Chicago taking Hannes Steinbach, 6'11" center / power forward out of University of Washington. He's from Germany originally. I've talked about Steinbach actually back when he was playing for the U18 team back in Germany. So I've been talking about Hannes for a while now. But I got him going to Chicago. I like him with this core of Giddey, Buzelis, Noai, and Ivy, and then Dillingham. I don't know what Chicago's doing. We're going to do it. Ivy and Dillingham, I don't necessarily know. So if you want to just talk about the 3 players that I named earlier, that's totally fine if you want to just take those 3. But I wrote those 2 down, 2 for just in case if Chicago decides to extend them. I think Steinbach is the best center overall, in my opinion, in this draft. And I think that's something Chicago could really, really use. And also, I think he'll benefit heavy from being in the pick and roll with Josh Giddey. So I like him going to Chicago at 9. Number 10, the Milwaukee Bucks. I got Milwaukee taking Nate Ament, 6'10", small forward / power forward out of University of Tennessee. Honestly, I also wrote down a potential trade here for Milwaukee for just in case the whole Giannis thing, right? If Giannis, they're trying to win now, they may try to trade this pick to get somebody else to pair with Giannis. So I put a potential trade here, but if they do select here, I really like Nate Ament for them. But they are in a tough spot, right? Does Giannis stay? Does he leave? Do you pay heavy money for Cam Thomas and for Kevin Porter? And then they got a lot of players with player options. I just think Nate Ament, and why I mocked him here is because to me, he has the highest upside to me at this point in the draft. And the skill, he also has the skill set, in my opinion, that you can kind of build around. Like he could be he potentially could become a franchise level player if his skill level, maxes out where it's supposed to max out at. So I like Nate Ament for them if they decide to keep the pick. Number 11, the Portland Trailblazers. I got them taking Braylon Mullins, 6'6" shooting guard from UConn, sharp shooter. Portland needs more shooting, even though Dame is coming back. Mullins, day one, is going to be a good 3-and-D player, has really good size. I like him with this young core of Scoot, Shaden, Klingon, and Hansen. I like it. I like it a lot. So I got Braylon Mullins to Portland. That was honestly probably the easiest one for me. Number 12, Oklahoma City Thunder. I got them taking Jaden Quintance. I never pronounce his last name right. But 6'9", power forward, goes to University of Kentucky. Also, I wrote potential trade here as well for OKC because I know sometimes OKC likes to move back or even get out of the first round as a whole and just collect more assets. But I like him with this young core. Jaden, if you guys are not familiar with his game, he didn't play much this year. Last year at Arizona State was a stud. Honestly, I think he would have probably went top 6, top 5 last year if he would have came out. Defensive ace. Yeah, I really like him a lot. I really like him with OKC too because even though they drafted Thomas Sawyer last year, which I'm very high on Thomas Sawyer. He was one of my sleepers. Hasn't played this year. He'll play next year. But I really like Jaden with them because I think he can guard multiple positions. And also, I think OKC is going to need as many bodies as possible to throw at Wemby for years to come. And obviously, yes, there's real injury concern with Jaden, and that's why he's fallen all the way to 12, and that's why he really hasn't played at all this year. But OKC is a team that can kind of take the swing. Major defensive upside for this player. I like him to OKC if he's on the board at 12. Number 13, Charlotte Hornets. I got them taking Yaxel Lindenborg. 6'9" power forward, University of Michigan. I think Yaxel fits this core beautifully. I like him next to LaMelo, Khan, and Brandon Miller. And then Diabate. I like Yaxel a lot for them. Really, if they decide they don't want to pay Mikal Bridges, Miles Bridges, not Mikal. Miles Bridges, and I feel like somebody else is a free agent on their team too this summer. I can't remember who. I think they have somebody else that's a free agent this summer too. I just can't. I think Grant Williams is a free agent too. So I like Yaxel. He's older. He's also an older player, so he's ready to play now. He fits this core's timeline. He can bring true defensive versatility, in my opinion, kind of what they were hoping from Tajani, which hasn't really panned out quite yet. And he's still super young. Tajani's still really young. But I think they need Yaxel. I think Yaxel will fit the score beautifully. You could go Mikal Brown Jr. at this pick if you want to replace Kobe White, because I think Kobe White's also due to get paid this summer. So you could just draft Mikal Brown and have him come off the bench and give you basically what Kobe White was probably going to give you. But yeah, I like Yaxel for them at 13. Number 14 is the San Antonio Spurs. I got San Antonio taking Amari Allen, 6'8", power forward / small forward out of University of Alabama. He's a freshman. I really like him with this core of Wemby, Dylan Harper, Carter Bryant, and Stephon Castle. I like him a lot. I think Amari Allen, to me, reminds me somewhat of like what Al Horford was like when he played with the Celtics. That's kind of who he reminds me of when he plays. I think he'll be a great piece next to Wemby in the front court. I think he's essentially what they were hoping Jeremy Sohan was going to be able to be next to Wemby. That's what I think Amari Allen could be next to Wemby. So I really like Amari Allen for the Spurs at 14. So that kind of concludes it. Sorry, you guys, I'm kind of going a little fast, but yeah, that kind of concludes the draft lottery. I just really wanted to do this because I thought it'd be fun before we actually get the real lottery. And honestly, who knows? Some of these kids may decide to go back to college. I don't know. We'll find out here shortly. But yeah, you guys let me know down in the comment section below, what players do you think fits with each of these teams that I just... My next segment is a segment I like to call Games of the Week. Now, in Games of the Week, I'm talking about some type of NBA, high school, college, or a national game that I really enjoyed watching, or a game of some type of significance. This game was kind of just a game of some type of significance, like slightly. So I'm talking about Louisville at number 22, Miami. No Mikal Brown Jr., unfortunately, for Louisville, but this game was somewhat significant because this is Jay Lucas's first season with the Miami Hurricanes, and he's done an amazing job. 17 game turnaround. They won 17 more games this year than they did last year. And I'm talking about Jay Lucas because Jay Lucas was an assistant on Duke, and I think he was also one of our, if not our number one, top recruiting guy. He was, right there. Great assistant coach. He's so far done a great job for Miami. Miami program is in great hands for years to come with Jay Lucas. But this game was also significant because if Miami would have won this game, this would have been Miami's program record 25th win. They've never won 25 games in program history, in the regular season at least. So it was that significant. But then also, this was the first time that Miami was ranked in the top 25 since 2023. So just thought I would kind of show a little bit of love to the Hurricanes. So anyways, in the first half, Louisville led first half 46-37. Louisville really got out to an early lead. I feel like Miami kind of was scrapping back a little bit. Miami, what I really took from this game is Miami's a physical team. Can't really shoot. Not really could shoot. I felt like throughout the game they were really struggling to get baskets. And it was clear. Louisville would run sets almost every time down the court. They were running sets. And if they didn't make the shot, they got the shot they wanted. Even though Miami, like I said, played solid defense, it just looked a lot fluider for Louisville when it came to scoring. And Louisville has a lot of offensive players on their team, even without Mikal Brown Jr. They got Ryan Conwell, and then they got I forgot the guy's name from Egypt. I forgot his name, but I think his last name is Khalifa. He's solid passer, just a really solid big man. And they got Sanjay Fru's very solid. But yeah, anyways, Louisville's loaded. They're a deep team. They for sure have underwhelmed this year because I thought they were going to win the ACC. I thought they did a really good job at recruiting, combination with the transfer portal, combination with the returning players. I thought Louisville was ready to win the ACC. They for sure nowhere near it, right? But anyways, I'm getting off track. Ryan had a big first half. He was frying them. He shot 58% from the field in the first half. I think he shot 57% from three in the first half. He had 18 points in the first half. Louisville as a team shot 62% from the field. They shot 60% from three. And I ain't going to lie to you guys, I thought this was going to be a blowout in the second half. Miami, in the first half, they shot 55% from the field and 36% from three. Only 4 mades for Miami from three in the first half. Louisville made 9 threes in the first half. I'm telling you, Louisville's offense in the first half was just humming, and it just was going, right? And Miami's best players were not performing. In the second half, Miami's best players kind of woke up. Malik Renew, he kind of got, at the beginning of the second half, he picked up his third foul. He ended up going to sit down. And eventually he came back. Into the game. And mind you, this is their leading scorer. And on the season, he's averaging 19 points, shooting 55% from the field, 36 from three, and 77% from the free throw line. So they were missing a lot of their offense in the second half. And they were already struggling in the first half with him on the court. But in the second half, eventually he got back on the court. He kind of took the game over physically in the second half. And I felt like once he came back into the game, the team kind of fed off of that. In the second half, I think he had he finished the game, I think with 16, 17 free throws. And most of them came in the second half from Malik Renew. But then also Donaldson got it going. He had 13 points in the second half. And then Conwell kind of got shut down in the second half. Because mind you guys, I told you he had 18 going into half. The entire second half, he only had 6 points. And with about 3 minutes to go left in the game, Miami took a lead 81-80. And Sheldon Henderson, which is a freshman for Miami, he had a big tip. And then Woolley of Louisville came down and hit basically an off the dribble three to give them the lead back. And this was a couple of play sequences later. I'm kind of fast forwarding a little bit. But then at that point, the game was 89-87 Louisville. And kind of the final play of the game, Donaldson got locked up. He kind of fell. He tried to throw the ball to Renew. Renew couldn't handle the ball. He lost out of bounds. And that was kind of the game. Louisville won the game 92-89. But my big takeaway from this game was that Miami, I could see Miami and Louisville each winning at least one game in March. I would probably be surprised. I guess it depends who you play because styles makes fights, But I would probably be surprised. I guess maybe not if Louisville, because Louisville has the offense and the defense to get to the Sweet 16. But I can see Miami at least winning a game. I just think offensively, Miami's going to struggle in the tournament, I feel like, which is weird because they shouldn't, because Malik Renew and Donaldson and then Sheldon Henderson, those are solid players. So you would think Miami wouldn't be struggling the way they do offensively, but they just can't shoot. The three-point shooting is horrible, and I think they're towards the bottom half of the ACC in three-point shooting. But if they can get to the rim, and physically impose themselves, because they're a physically imposing team, then maybe Miami can win 2 games. But I feel like Miami maybe at best wins 2 games. I would be surprised if they get to a Sweet 16, but I think Louisville might be able to get to one if the bracket falls in its right way. But anyways, I really want to highlight this game because also since Louisville won the game, there's a possibility they may play Miami again on Thursday in the ACC tournament. So, but yeah, I don't know. Just something I wanted to highlight. I wanted to highlight that game, kind of off the grid game a little bit, So, games of the week coming up. Tomorrow in the NBA, we got Raptors at Rockets. Also Tuesday, we get Celtics at Spurs. I'm going to be glued to the TV to watch that game. Also Tuesday, we get Wolves at Lakers. Wednesday, we get Cavs at Magic. I'm going to be watching that game pretty close too. Wolves, we get Timberwolves at Clippers Wednesday. Thursday, we get Nuggets at Spurs. Thursday, we get Celtics at the Thunder. I'll be watching that game closely. Saturday, we get Hornets at the Spurs. I highlighted that because obviously the Hornets have been a fun watch this year thus far. And in my season preview episode, when I was giving you guys my NBA playoff and play-in teams, the Hornets was one of my teams. So kind of got to pat myself on the back for that one. And then we have no college games that I want to highlight this week because the conference tournament starts this week. For all the major conferences. Some of the smaller conferences have already started, but the major conferences start this week. So I don't really have any other college games that I want to highlight to you guys currently, okay? You guys let me know down in the comment section below what game did you guys enjoy this week and what games are you guys looking forward to this upcoming week. I think I'm going to go to the state basketball tournament this Friday, so that might be one of my games next week. I think I'm going to try to go to the Final Four game, where it's the Final Four teams of the state 6A title game. I think I might go to that. And I might try to go to the championship game on Saturday too. So I might talk about some high school basketball next week. My last segment is a segment I like to call In the Lab. Now, In the Lab, I'm talking about today's NBA rookies, high school, college, or international basketball. Today, we're kind of going to just talk about the Rookie of the Year debate just slightly, just for a little bit, because I'm running thin on time. But I just wanted to kind of talk about it. I've seen other people talk about it, so I'm like, well, why not? I ain't got nothing else to really talk about right now. I don't want to keep saturating you guys with college stuff, because next week we're going to talk about college. And I've talked about rookies on here, so I'm like, let's talk about the award that matters of the rookies. Okay, let's talk about that. But obviously we're going to talk about Con and Cooper, and also there's a third player that I kind of just want to give some love to, just because I feel like you can never give him too much love. Pause. So anyways, I want to give you guys I'll give you guys what Cooper did, what Con's done, and then I'll kind of just bring it home with my opinion about it all, okay? But first, before I do that, I want to give some love to Dylan Harper. Dylan Harper, if he was receiving the same amount of minutes and volume as some of these other rookies, I think Dylan Harper would be averaging closer to 17, 18 points a game. He would be right there with them, probably like 18. He'd probably be averaging like 18, 6, and 6 right now, or 18, 6, and 5. But anyways, I want to give him some love because on the season, he's played about 22 minutes a game, come off the bench every game. He's averaging 11 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 turnover, 2 personal fouls, shooting 48% from the field, 27% from 3, and 73% from the free throw line. And I just wanted to show him some love. I could have talked about VJ, but I feel like people gives VJ his love. I feel like he gets his love. He's been on national TV. He gets love. But Dylan Harper, I feel like he don't get enough love, I think. But I just wanted to give him some love. So now we can talk about Khan and Cooper Flagg. Let's talk about Cooper Flagg first. Cooper Flagg plays for the Dallas Mavericks. He went to Duke. So Cooper on the season's playing about 34 minutes a game, 20 points, 6.5 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 2 turnovers, 2 personal fouls. Shooting 47% from the field, 29% from 3, and 81% from the free throw line. So I want to give you guys some things about Cooper, and then we'll give you some things about Khan, and then I'll kind of just bring it home and kind of just give my final thoughts on it all. So here's some records that Cooper Flagg has broken or tied this season. So with the Mavericks, he tied the Mavericks rookie scoring record in a single game at 42 points with, I think it was Mark McGuire. He became the first teenager to score 3 consecutive 30-point games. He became the youngest player to score 40 points in a game. And he had his most points in a game by a teenager. He had 49 points against Khan's Hornets. And that was back on January 29th, which is my birthday. But also, I guess on the downside, the Mavericks record, they're 21-42. But that's not conducive to him. I mean, they traded away Anthony Davis. He was hurt. Kyrie's been out all year. So if you're watching the games, Cooper Flagg has looked like the best rookie. I mean, if we're talking in totality, like as a player, in impact, he's looked like the best player. And now Khan plays for the Charlotte Hornets, also went to Duke. He averaged about 32 minutes a game, 19 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 2 turnovers, 2 personal fouls. His shooting splits are 49% from the field, 44 from 3, 87 from the free throw line. No rookie has ever posted 50-40-90. The closest rookie to do it was Malcolm Brogdon. He shot 46% from the field, 40 from 3, and 86.5% from the free throw line. And he actually did win Rookie of the Year. And that year, the Bucks were the 6th team in the East, and their record was 42-40. So very strikingly similar to Khan's numbers. And the Hornets currently are 32, and they're 32-32, I think, or 32-33 if I remember correctly. The only other players that has posted 50-40-90, like the youngest players to ever do it, was Kevin Durant and Mark Price. They both were 24 when they did it. So I mean, Khan's going to have a chance to break at least that record as years to go. But so to me, I think you do have to give it to Khan Knueppel, because we have not seen a rookie shoot this well and at this volume. I can't even remember the last rookie to shoot this well at this type of volume. Like I said, it would be Malcolm Brogdon, but even Brogdon wasn't giving you 19 a game. I think Brogdon was only averaging like 14 a game, I think, if I remember correctly. And the Hornets have been on a blaze the second half of the year. I mean, they've been blazing. And I had a feeling that was going to happen coming into the year. I said it. I was like, the Hornets have like 6-7 dudes on this team that can give you 20 on any given night. So that's why I picked them to get to the play-in. But I think you got to give it to Khan. Unfortunately, Cooper Flagg, bad situation in Dallas. He's on a team full of older players who are chronically injured. And I feel bad for Cooper Flagg. I really do, because I think my eyes tell me that he's been the best rookie this year, hands down. But statistically, the team's record doesn't back it up. And then also, Khan has been shooting lights out. And what's kind of worked in Khan's favor, too, is nobody really saw this completely coming from Khan necessarily. So I think that also is weighing in his favor. And then his team is going to be probably a playoff team. I think you give it to Khan. I know Cooper Flagg probably really wants it, but I don't think you can justify giving it to Cooper Flagg with the team's record being that bad. I just don't think you can justify it. And we've seen it happen. Don't get me wrong. We've seen players on bad teams get Rookie of the Year. But I just feel like Khan's shooting splits and what he's doing from a shooting and scoring standpoint, I just don't think you can ignore that. So I would give the nod. I would give the nod to Khan. But I don't care which one of them win it. I don't really care. I like both players. I'm gonna root for both players for years to come. So it doesn't really matter to me. But so yeah, that's the end of my episode. Like I told you guys, next week we'll talk about some college basketball. And PJ is out.